Hi there, I'm Kristen Culver, and I'm here to help you get ready to Zoom.
Well, here's the thing. I knew Zoom was trouble when I logged in. She can figure out her screen share presentation. Just click out and I knew Zoom was trouble when I logged in. I'm gonna lose it if I see that Earth background again. And my Wi-Fi just went down. Oh! Oh! Struggle, struggle, struggle. Well, here's
As you can see from that little video clip, I was inspired by the fact that so many of us are what I call Zoom challenged. And that's no offense to anyone watching, but I want you to understand that I have seen this happen more often than I'd like to admit. The primary reason when anyone uses like video or slides, it's to increase engagement. Visuals help reinforce key points, and they help you to organize your thoughts if you're using some kind of a presentation software like a PowerPoint or a slide deck. Well-designed visuals can improve your audience's response in a way that words alone can't describe. When preparing these kinds of presentations, there are several suggested guidelines. Many of these will apply to your standard in-meeting presentations or virtual presentations. Initially, you do need to understand that your audience is watching from different devices. So if they're on a laptop or a phone or a tablet, it can make a difference. You've got to make sure your stuff is visible on a smaller screen. There are most commonly found platforms like Zoom, the one referenced in the video, WebEx, GoToMeeting. Those are usually used by businesses, but now they're becoming more commonly used by everyone who's stuck at home during the COVID-19 crisis, but also folks who just work from home because that's how they work. They telecommute. Most people are on Apple or Android, but you do want to check the specifications of your device to make sure it will work with the software you're using. I'm going to stick to using Zoom as my example on a laptop because that's what I'm most familiar with. No matter what your device is, you got to make sure your camera is set up properly at eye level or slightly above. Angled down is a very flattering angle. It allows you to better make eye contact with your audience, which is key. You're trying to connect with them through technology. It's not the same as when you look at them in the room. There are many adjustable workstations available that allow you to change the height of your device from a seated to a standing position, like a standing workstation. That would give you the height you need while seated to have the camera at the right height. I used to use a shoebox, if it makes you feel any better. Another factor to consider is your environment, the room you're in. Is it large, small? Maybe it's noisy, has a busy and possibly distracting background. You may need to invest in a headset with a microphone and noise canceling features to allow you to hear and speak clearer. Another person pointed out that you may want to dial in with your phone for the best quality sound, therefore freeing up bandwidth for video. Just a thought. I know a lot of computers do not have the best quality microphone, so it might be worthwhile to try that. I can't emphasize enough how important lighting is. You want to be sure your source is in front of you, not behind you. Natural lighting is always best. And you might want to consider a ring light. That's what I use. It has an on-off switch. It's very affordable. It's adjustable. I can actually switch between amber and white LEDs. As you can see here, this lovely lady, Leah, is showing you what natural light looks like or artificial light. But definitely do not want to use backlighting. It's not flattering. It actually casts a shadow. And when she uses a ring light, she's very well lit from the front. This is the one I use here. It clips on, plugs in, very easy to use, and I find it to be very inexpensive, quick setup. You can't go wrong. So have you ever noticed that newscasters, especially the weathermen, meteorologists, will wear plain colored clothing on camera? Now, mind you, I am wearing a print, but stripes in particular do not do well on camera. And although it's unlikely during a virtual meeting anyone's going to see what kind of pants you're wearing, they definitely will see what top you're wearing. I recommend white, light blue, or other flattering solid color tops whenever possible. And if you're doing a green screen, don't wear the same color top or you'll end up looking like a floating head. And a side note on virtual backgrounds, just like your real background, keep it simple and professional. If it's too busy or even animated, like a waving palm tree or an orbiting satellite, like mentioned in the video, it can be distracting. As you can see here, I cheated before I actually owned a chroma key green screen. I used a bright blue towel and was able to emulate the virtual background. Now, if you look carefully at my screen, what you may not realize is I have a green screen and I'm using it as we speak. But I have to make sure that I am not wearing that same shade of green or it comes out kind of funny. Along those same lines, we talked about the backdrop itself. You may want to make sure that it's not too busy. Glitter is great in certain circumstances, but I find pastels much easier on the eyes. Sorry. And of course, next slide here shows you the studio I work in. Well, I took pictures of it a while back. This is our lobby waiting area, and this is where we teach our classes. So I can magically transport myself to our classroom to teach a class with a client on virtual conference. And then if I need to pull aside one person, I can do a breakout room and change my background. So it seems like she and I have moved into a second room where we can chat quietly while the other people stay in the main room chatting until I'm done wrapping up with her individually. So now that your room, the computer, your lighting, your sound, your attire is all figured out, you want to think about the content. And like traditional PowerPoint slides, you're going to want to focus on things like complementary colors, perhaps even the company's branded colors, if you will. Make sure it's an easy to read font, and the size is, the font is easy, like print what it looks like, and then the actual font size is large enough that folks can see it easily seated at their desk or from their phone. I found also keeping it to no more than 4 bullet points is a really good idea, just because I think our brain can only handle so much. You don't want to fill the whole slide with lots of text because then they just don't really read it anymore. And it's not professional, of course, to turn your back in a live presentation in a room. In a virtual setting, you have the advantage that you're always facing your audience and you can see your slides, so you never even have to turn to look at them. That's actually going to be a benefit to you. Do avoid using large words and hard to pronounce terminology unless that's in your industry. I find that spelling check and grammar check before you start using your slides is a good idea because someone's going to notice and they might even point it out to you. When you use images, be sure they're high enough resolution that you can see them. Nobody enjoys that fuzzy, pixelated look unless the image is supposed to be blurred out for security reasons. Before your meeting, be prepared with your slides and any other equipment you might need. If you're in live, it would be a whiteboard or maybe a flip chart, markers, what have you. If at all possible, if you're not the hosting program, you want to practice with the person who is on their software. If it is your own computer and your own software, well then do a couple dry runs. Maybe have someone watch you if it's a virtual setting to make sure what you think they see is what they actually see. You might even record your video if you have that feature to watch a playback and see what you could do better. I often find that although they offer you things like a whiteboard feature or a faux laser pointer, you don't want to stumble through your presentation unprepared. I actually recently jury-rigged using a Word document that I brought up as a screen share and had an assistant who's elsewhere, literally in the state, typing down the notes that the group in this workshop was giving so that we would have some kind of record of the thoughts that they shared, instead of having a whiteboard with me writing on it and being very distracted, or worse, that I'm writing on it one way and it's showing it mirror image to the audience so that they can't read it at all. I would always recommend that you work in a presentation mode, which should override the audience's view to the speaker instead of the gallery view or grid view. And you have to realize you may still be visible in a picture-in-picture when you're doing your screen share, Along those same lines, it is courtesy that everyone be muted so that there's only one source of sound, because oftentimes these programs will switch to another screen if it detects sound coming from another participant. I find that it's very hard when you do video to get a reaction from your audience. And therefore, if you can pin one or two people to the side or keep one or two of them visible so you can watch for a reaction and make sure they're engaged and connecting with you, that would be very, very helpful. So my take-home points are for you: be sure your appearance, environment, and his equipment is ideal for broadcasting. Make sure that the content is easy to see and understand without overwhelming your audience. Prepare your presentation ahead of time with the host. Be sure your material will be visible, and practice like you would normally in an in-person meeting. And just to end on a light note, you might notice a lot of people just push stuff out of the way to make room for their Zoom call. I actually used to use a curtain until I got the green screen in place. Last but not least, this was a favorite of mine. I posted this infographic on here on the left talking about Zoom meeting attention span, where your mind actually is during the meeting. And I will admit, at least once or twice, my brain did drift off onto some other topic, but you notice that the actual content is only like 2%. Finally, if you want to do this, go for it. It's actually not long enough to be a true bingo board, but if you want to play Zoom bingo, you can listen for the dog barking, someone telling another member their screen froze, or they are on mute. Other ways, I would recommend that you take a little time and a little preparation to make sure that your presentation is enjoyable and engaging, and you don't have everybody wondering what to do in the next half hour when the meeting ends. If you have any questions or would like more information, I am happy to provide it. Just contact me and I will go ahead and reach out to you. Thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful afternoon.